secondary art students. This is our first art history lesson online. I'll be doing them every Wednesday, and they're for all my students, no matter what art class you're in. And they'll be posted every Wednesday. So our first one is going to be focused on the Northern Renaissance artist Albrecht Durer. And I've held this up in some other videos before. This is a Scholastic Art magazine specifically on Albrecht Durer. And as I said, he's a Northern Renaissance artist. We have studied lots of Renaissance artists in the past. In fact, my 7th and 8th grade class just finished a lesson on Leonardo da Vinci. And da Vinci was an Italian Renaissance artist. High Renaissance is another term for that. And Durer was around during the same time, except Durer lived in Germany. In fact, Durer was born in 1471 in Nuremberg, Germany. It was a cultural center at the time, a lot of things happening. It was a great place for a young person to live. And at this time, 1440 was the invention of the printing press by Gutenberg. So that's been around. It's being utilized. So Durer had that right there at his fingertips, and he is most known for being an engraver and a woodcut artist. And those features allowed him to become very popular, widely known, almost rock star-like in his community. And he was started very young. His father was a goldsmith, and he learned some of that trade and also worked with different artists. And by the time he was 13, he was already considered a pretty famous artist. He's done portraits, which I'm going to show you a couple that are very famous. One is the one that is on our cover of our magazine. It is his self-portrait done when he was 28 years old, and it's kind of a shocker for a lot of people. It was a little controversial at the time because you'll notice he looks a little Christ-like. He's being shown from the front, which was unusual for the time. Usually a portrait, self-portrait, or any kind of portrait was done where the person was facing to the side, and this was one of the first ones ever done facing forward that was not a picture of Christ. But I have read many times that though he's probably a little arrogant, this was done to show his appreciation for the gift God gave him of being an artist, being artistic and talented in that way. So this was showing his skill came from the divine. He also did watercolor pictures, but like I said, mostly known for his engravings and etchings. Watercolor picture you're going to see today in one of your art history videos is the young hare. And I want to make sure you notice Durer is famous for signing all his artwork, or most of his artwork, once he developed this insignia the same way. It's a large A with a small D in between. So whenever you're looking at a Durer picture, see if you can find the creative way he put his insignia or signed his artwork. But this is Young Hare, done in 1502. This was done a year later. It's called A Great Piece of Earth. And these are obviously drawn from nature. And we talked about when we did our creative warm-up earlier in the week that we were drawing from nature ourselves. And the Northern Renaissance artists did not have the Roman ruins and the information about the Greek myths and all that to draw their inspiration from. So they drew their Renaissance inspiration from nature and prided themselves on doing things very realistically. Whereas the high Renaissance Italian artists like Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael drew on antiquity, Greek and ancient Greek and Rome. Another picture you're going to see in the video today is the wing of a roller, a blue roller, which is a bird from Europe. And praying hands. This picture might be very familiar to some of you, and you're going to learn all about them in the videos that I have posted. They're short videos. I'm trying to streamline things and make them as short as possible for you. And I also understand that some people can't see the videos yet, either because their internet connection or whatever. So I'm trying to put as many things linked into the LMS as I can for those individuals that can't see the videos. But in our lesson today, you're going to see this article that I want you to read. You're going to see my art history wall discussion guide. We're not at school, so we can't put our pictures up on the wall to discuss, but the two engravings and woodcuts that are on this are going to be in a video also that you're watching. But this is page 1, and this is page 2. Page 1 is called, the picture that we talk about is the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse from the Revelation scripture. And then this engraving, you'll look a little more closely in the video, is about St. Jerome. And St. Jerome is famous for translating the Bible into Latin. And there's a lot of symbolism and imagery in this engraving. And I want you to look out for it. Very interesting. And that's in the Khan Academy video. And then the last worksheet that is posted on the LMS are the 3 questions. Now this is where you're going to get credit for your art history lesson, is by answering the 3 questions on this page. And like I said, they are posted on the LMS. Nothing real hard here. It should be pretty easy for you to do. And I just want to say a couple other things to notice as you're watching the videos and looking closely at this art. During the Renaissance, we had 4 major things that came into play that sort of were game changers for artists. One is pyramid configuration, and that is the placement of items in a painting or in a piece of art in the form kind of a triangle. If you think about Da Vinci's Mona Lisa and the head of her, or the portrait of Durer, it's called pyramid configuration. Oil on canvas is new. It's a new way of doing art, having oil on canvas. Perspective, showing distance in the picture instead of everything being on a flat plane. That is new to the Renaissance, and this term called chiaroscuro. And chiaroscuro is this extreme light and shadow. And if you think back to the Durer portrait from when he was 28 years old, the extreme light and shadow in that picture, that is called chiaroscuro. And those 4 elements are new to Renaissance art. Durer actually traveled to Italy and studied some of the things that Leonardo was perfecting, and Raphael and artists like Bellini, and he brought those ideas back to Germany, and that is where the founding of the Northern Renaissance ideals come from. Like I said, Durer really became quite popular, most especially with his engravings and woodcuts, because they could be mass produced. He illustrated a lot of books. He wrote books. He wrote treatises on perspective, on human proportion, geometry, all of these things. So he became quite famous. So watch the videos, learn a little more about Albrecht Durer, look for his special insignia that he signs his artwork with. And I will just end with the fact that he died April 6th, 1528. So that is a little bit about our Northern Renaissance artist, Albrecht Durer. Oh, the last thing I want to just mention is the 2 dots over the U. That's a German symbol called an Umlaut. And if you're writing in a Word document and you want to put an umlaut on your paper, you can do that by pushing Control-Shift and the semicolon, and then typing your U or whatever letter you want to have the umlaut over. Just a little fact for you. But that's our first art history lesson on Albrecht Durer. Good luck, and make sure you submit your answers to the 3 questions to me to get your credit. One last thing to my 7th and 8th grade students. You're going to use the information from this art history lecture and video series on Albrecht Durer to use the 9x12 piece of paper and make creative notes. You should be very familiar with creative notes at this point. We did creative notes on Leonardo da Vinci, and our very first creative notes were on Pablo Picasso. So use your 9x12 piece of white sulfite drawing paper and do some creative notes on Albrecht Durer. This will take a little while. I don't expect you to have this done this week. I would start with a rough draft on plain notebook paper or copy paper, and then work on a final draft on the 9x12 drawing paper. So that's just for my 7th and 8th grade class. Thanks.